national team dancing on Caitlyn Clark logo at Carver Arena. Man, a lot of people had mixed reviews about it. Well, it looked like that wasn't the only clip because the entire team got in on the action, bro. Got in on the jumping on Caitlyn Clark logo, stomping on it, dancing on it, shooting from it. Oh, yeah, man, they had a mighty good time at Carver Arena, dog. Now, if you guys don't know, today is the day Caitlyn Clark will make her return back in Iowa City to play at that very same arena, man. She broke that scoring record at. And I'm telling you right now, them doing this is very bad.
Clark in transition. Clark, pull up three. You bet!
What happens when Brazil tries to roast Caitlyn Clark? Instant karma, baby. They poked the bear and the Indiana Fever went full beast mode. Smashed them like it was a warm-up drill. Buckle up, because this isn't just a basketball game. It's a comedy roast, revenge story, and highlight reel rolled into one. You won't believe how fast the trash talk turned into trash performance. Caitlyn brought the smoke, and Brazil got burned.
Boy, oh boy, did that feel good. Did that feel good from Caitlyn Clark opening up the game, pull up three, bang. To the logo three to close the third quarter, walking off to a standing ovation. Caitlyn Clark pulling up from 36 feet out. From start to finish, there was never a doubt in our mind. There was never a time where we even thought to ourselves, is this game going to be close? Indiana comes out, 8-0 run, close out the first quarter, close out the second quarter, close out the third quarter, sit our starters in the fourth quarter, and by the time it's all said and done, the Indiana Fever score more than double the Brazilian national team.
Brazil really thought they had it all figured out, didn't they? Swaggered into the building like they were about to film a Nike commercial, wearing sunglasses indoors and oozing that overcooked Samba confidence, thinking they were about to teach Caitlyn Clark and the Indiana Fever a lesson in basketball. Because nothing screams prepared like underestimating the woman who casually turns triple doubles into Tuesday hobbies.
Indiana Fever just utterly demolished Brazil in their first preseason game. This was our first look at Caitlyn Clark in her second WNBA season, and she did not disappoint. She was raining threes. Her handle looked tighter than ever. Her vision was on point, and she brought this energy, and she brought the crowd, and everything was just electric because she was on the court.
Brazil strutted onto the court like they were at Carnival, except instead of feathers and glitter, they brought bricks and turnovers. You could almost hear the theme music playing in their heads. Probably something inspirational, upbeat, and tragically premature. Maybe they were expecting a Disney movie where they're the underdogs rising up against adversity. Unfortunately, they were actually in a Quentin Tarantino flick. Messy, chaotic, and over before they realized who the protagonist was.
Today, guys, as soon as the clock started, okay, pretty much, right? Caitlyn Clark scores the first points of the game, and she gave us her classic three-pointer, okay, behind that the third point arch line. And then after that,
Taunting Caitlyn Clark? Oh, genius move. Because if there's one thing sports history has taught us, it's that mocking elite athletes always ends well for the mockers. Just ask the countless defenders who tried to chirp at Michael Jordan and ended up as cautionary tales in highlight reels for the rest of eternity. But sure, Brazil, you do you. Sneer, smirk, and send little jabs in Clark's direction, as if that wasn't the motivational fuel she uses to torch entire continents.
At making Caitlyn Clark's iconic shot.
Look.
oh, too much.
And they look bad doing it, bro.
And if you're enjoying, please subscribe. They acted like Caitlyn Clark was just another American export, as if she wasn't the human embodiment of a heat-seeking missile with a jump shot. Brazil threw shade, and what did they get in return? A Category 5 hurricane of humiliation. Caitlyn Clark didn't just play basketball that day, she hosted a clinic, signed autographs mid-dribble, taught a masterclass in humility, and still had time to check the scoreboard every now and then just to make sure the beatdown was evenly distributed.
108-44, Caitlyn Clark. Did she look rusty? I don't know. 16.6 rebounds, 5 assists, plus 42, plus minus in only 19 minutes of hoops. Caitlyn Clark hoops are back. She looked good, folks. She looked good.
The Indiana Fever, bless them, didn't even need to be spectacular. They just had to hand Clark the ball and get out of the way. And even that seemed to be more coordination than Brazil could handle. The Brazilian defense, if you can call it that, had all the structure of a melted popsicle. Watching them try to guard Clark was like watching someone try to catch smoke with a butterfly net. Equal parts tragic and hilarious. One Brazilian player made the unfortunate choice to smirk after a lucky shot, as if they had just cracked the Da Vinci Code. Spoiler alert, that shot was followed by Clark casually sauntering down the court and detonating a three-pointer so deep the ball had to file a passport. Instant karma doesn't usually operate this efficiently, but on that day, the universe was apparently in express delivery mode.
And honestly, I didn't plan to shoot that logo 3. I know coming into the game, everybody wanted me to shoot one from there. But Steph was like, was supposed to come out at the end of the third, so she's like, give a foul, give a foul, give a foul. And then it was 30 seconds on the clock, which like between 30 to 33, that's like your 2-for-1 range where you have to get one up. So I saw 30 as we're inbounding the ball, which probably is inbounding the ball at 30, probably a little low. But I was like, why not? Might as well launch one, and it went in, and then Steph used the timeout to get me out. But yeah, that was pretty fun. And
At one point, Brazil attempted a full court press, which was adorable. It looked less like a defensive strategy and more like a group of people chasing after a pigeon in a shopping mall. Frantic, uncoordinated, and utterly pointless. Clark didn't even break a sweat. She practically moonwalked past defenders, occasionally using them as screens to make her shots even more theatrical. It was like she was bored and decided to add extra difficulty for sport. The Fever's bench, meanwhile, was having the time of their lives. They weren't just cheering, they were reenacting Shakespearean dramas every time Clark made a shot. One player had to be restrained after nearly fainting from joy. Another took off a shoe and waved it in the air. When the bench starts acting like it's Mardi Gras every time you score, that's not just dominance. That's a performance art installation.
The logo threes, I know this is an exhibition, but those logo threes beyond the logo threes for Caitlyn seemed like prime examples of you and her teammates kind of letting Caitlyn be Caitlyn, so to speak. How do you balance that? And did it start like that, or did you kind of have to get off the reins a little bit, for lack of a better term?
I've been watching her do it for 4 years, 5 years really, so that's just who she is. It's what she does. I mean, nobody tells Steph Curry not to take good shots, right? But I do think that, sometimes there are time and score situations. Sometimes there are, we've just had 3 or 4 empty possessions. So really understanding the right times, understanding the moments. She knew she was coming out of the game, so she was going to take that logo 3. So it was, it was a good momentum builder, and of course what everybody wants to see from Caitlyn, especially in this arena.
Brazil's coach, meanwhile, wore the face of someone who just realized their GPS had taken them to the wrong side of the bracket. You could practically see the game plan crumbling like a wet tortilla. Timeout after timeout, they scribbled furiously on whiteboards like the answer was hidden in algebra. Unfortunately, no amount of geometry was going to make Caitlyn Clark's threes any less lethal. The only shape Brazil needed to worry about was a circle, the one Clark kept sending the ball through, over and over and over. But the true comedy came post-game, when Brazil tried to spin the disaster as a learning opportunity. Ah, yes, the international language of damage control. When you get flattened on live television and the only highlight you made was being on the wrong end of a crossover, suddenly it's about growth and development, sure. And Titanic was just an unscheduled swim.
I know they said on the broadcast it looked like she doesn't have the same burst that she used to have. She got by the defenders fairly easily in my estimation. She got by the other team's players fairly easy in my estimation. She moved pretty quickly in my estimation. If that's a step back with some tightness, what are we going to look like when we don't even have anything lingering in our legs at all? When we don't have to go onto the bike just to keep ourselves loose at all? What is that really going to look like? Caitlyn Clark picking up right where she left off. If there was any question, yes, she's like that. Yeah.
Some Brazilian fans insisted that the loss wasn't that bad because it was just an exhibition. That's like saying you didn't really lose a fight because it happened at a party and not in a ring. A beatdown is a beatdown, regardless of whether there was a trophy involved. Besides, Clark wasn't out there padding stats. She was conducting psychological warfare with a smile and a step-back jumper. And let's not ignore the absolute slapstick that was Brazil's offensive strategy. Watching them try to score was like watching someone type with oven mitts. Missed layups, airball jumpers, and passes that were clearly intended for imaginary friends. It was less team basketball and more group interpretive dance with a ball. There were moments when the shot clock expired and the entire team looked shocked, like they just remembered that time existed.
Besides the superstar backcourt, everybody on the Fever was cooking today. Look, you had Lexi Hole raining threes. You had Sophie Cunningham coming with the energy and the effort that we are becoming accustomed to seeing from her. We saw Natasha Howard and Aaliyah Boston be paint beasts down there. They manned it down there. And you also saw Michaela Timpson. She had 9 points. She looked really good. She looked like...
Meanwhile, Clark was inventing new ways to make defenders reconsider their life choices. No-look passes, crossovers so nasty they required apologies, and shots from distances that made NASA jealous. Every time she scored, it was like she was whispering, "Remember that taunt? This is your reward." The crowd ate it up like it was Thanksgiving, and Brazil was the turkey. Brazil's trash talk went silent so quickly you'd think someone cut the power. They entered the court with chests puffed and left it looking like they were auditioning for a silent film. Post-game interviews were filled with phrases like, "We need to regroup," "We underestimated them," and the timeless classic, "We didn't execute." Translation, "We poked a bear wearing a flamethrower." To be fair, not all of Brazil's players were bad. Some of them were just trapped in a nightmare orchestrated by Caitlyn Clark and company. You can't blame a candle for getting extinguished by a tsunami. One poor soul tried to guard Clark at the three-point line and ended up in a different zip code. She's probably still trying to find her ankles on Google Maps.
That. But all in all, Caitlyn Clark with a plus 42. She played 18 minutes. She played 18 minutes and was plus 42. Plus 42. 42 in 18 minutes. And there was a stage where it was her with all the rookies and she was still just carrying them. She got 2 assists to, I think, to an Yvonne Ejim. 1 foul, 3 turnovers to 5 assists. And again, the turnovers were just trying mad stuff. Like, it is what it is. Don't really care that much. But in 18 minutes, she had 16, 6, and 5. Like, that's so impressive. On 60% shooting and 4 of 6 from 3.
And then there were the Brazilian fans online, bless their hearts, trying to rationalize it all. "It's just one game," they cried. "We'll be back stronger." That's cute, but if your return strategy involves giving Clark more reasons to light you up, then you're not coming back stronger. You're coming back as the sequel to your own horror film. And of course, the memes. Oh, the glorious, merciless memes. Social media turned Brazil's performance into a buffet of comedy. One popular post labeled the team Caitlyn Clark's cardio session. Another said Brazil's defense was about as effective as a chocolate teapot. One meme just showed Clark walking into the arena with the caption, "Brazil's worst nightmare," live and in high definition. Even the referees looked like they were trying not to laugh by the third quarter. You know it's bad when the officials are glancing at each other like, should we mercy rule this? But no, Caitlyn had a point to make. A very loud, unignorable, write it on the wall with fire type of point.
Was moving the ball around a lot. The offense looked way better today against Brazil than it did against the Mystics for obvious reasons. If this team, can play anything close to this is a much improved, very dangerous team. It is.
And just when you thought it couldn't get worse for Brazil, the Fever's social media team dropped a post-game highlight reel so disrespectful it may have violated the Geneva Convention. Slow-motion shots of Clark splashing threes, defenders spinning like confused toddlers, and the scoreboard blinking like a giant L. Brazil's official account went quiet for hours, likely debating whether to delete the internet entirely. But let's be honest, this wasn't just about basketball. This was a cultural event, a televised masterclass in humility, a lesson in hubris, and a global example of what not to do when staring greatness directly in the face. This was bigger than the scoreboard. This was about respect, or the glaring lack of it. You don't poke the bear, and you definitely don't taunt the player, who's been rewriting record books since before your bench learned how to pronounce zone defense.
Caitlyn Clark got to cooking right out the gate. You see her bring it up the court, come off this double screen action involving Natasha Howard and Aaliyah Boston. She is this falling away three-point shot, dude. That is super difficult. We have become accustomed to shots like this from Caitlyn Clark, but you have to understand that no other player in the WNBA is doing this.
You don't chirp at the queen of the court when her stat line reads like a cheat code. You don't wave red flags in front of the bull when the bull has a step-back jumper, a long memory, and a chip on her shoulder the size of the NCAA. You don't test Caitlyn Clark unless you're fully prepared for the pop quiz of pain, and she's the professor, handing out L's like midterm. The Fever walked off the court glowing, like they just won the lottery, hit every green light on the way home, and got a text saying their student loans were forgiven. Meanwhile, Brazil slinked away like a group of confused tourists who accidentally wandered into the wrong alley and realized too late they were out of their league. The message was clear, bold, and written in flaming skywriting: talk trash, get torched. This wasn't just a game, it was a masterclass in humiliation. Brazil could have resurrected Pele, drafted Neymar, and bribed the ghost of Maradona, and it still wouldn't have mattered.
And not only that, every single one of her threes were from a minimum of like 28 feet. None of them were catch and shoot threes. She was being face guarded in an exhibition game. They were face guarding her. So we saw a few days ago with Paige in preseason, they're leaving her open. People are like, oh, why are they going to guard her hard in preseason? She was being face guarded. Every time she didn't have the ball, they were denying her. They were blitzing her off screens in an exhibition. This isn't even preseason. This was a literal exhibition game. It did not matter. They were playing a national team. It was an exhibition game, and they were blitzing her. And she still came out in 18 minutes with 16, 6, and 5.
Give them LeBron, Diana Taurasi, Michael Jordan in his prime. Heck, throw in Steph Curry and a motivational speech from Ted Lasso, and Clark still would have pulled up from the parking lot, hit a logo 3, and winked at the camera like it was just another Tuesday. This was domination wrapped in a highlight reel, tied with a bow of swagger. The Fever didn't just win, they turned Brazil's hopes into a blooper reel. It was glorious, it was savage, and it was a warning to the rest. Disrespect this squad, and you're leaving in flames. So the next time a team even thinks about taunting Caitlyn Clark, they might want to schedule a mandatory team meeting first. Bring snacks. Maybe dim the lights and fire up a PowerPoint presentation titled, How Not to Be Clowned on Global Television. Slide 1. Don't poke the sniper. Slide 2. Don't trash talk someone who can casually drop 30 points while quoting Shakespeare and solving a Rubik's Cube. Slide 3. Just smile, nod, compliment her sneakers, and pray she decides to take it easy on you.
From the team today?
First and foremost, that everybody was ready to go when their number was called. That is so important in this league, to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Now, there are, and especially with our team, we're going to have quality depth at every position. And there are going to be some games where these women deserve to play and they're not going to play. There's going to be some games where they're in and out of rotation, and they have to stay ready. Because when their number is called, they've got to be able to impact the game in a positive way. And so, number one, everybody was ready to go. Everybody impacted the game.
Because what happened to Brazil wasn't just a loss. It was a live-streamed clinic in humility. They came in Samba ready, high-fiving and grinning like this was a carnival warm-up. They left looking like they'd just been steamrolled by a basketball prodigy with a memory like an elephant and the aim of a laser-guided missile. The Fever walked in with quiet confidence and walked out as if they'd just shut down an Olympic bid. Meanwhile, Caitlyn Clark, she strutted in with receipts, reminders, and revenge, and left with Brazil's pride folded neatly in her back pocket like a souvenir. There's flair, and then there's flawless execution with public consequences. Clark isn't just a scorer. She's a storm system in sneakers, a walking headline, a stat sheet assassin. Brazil didn't just get outplayed, they got narrated, dissected, and humiliated on an international stage. She hit threes like they were practice shots, passed like she had a cheat code, and stared down defenders like she was scanning them for weaknesses. Spoiler, she found plenty.
In this game during the Brazilian national team, they were ready, okay? They were on go. The final score, guys, the game concluded with Indiana Fever having 108 points. The Brazil national team only had 44 points. They only had 44 points. They left them in the dust in the first quarter, okay? They just kept getting further and further away from the glory and the light and love of God.
This wasn't just basketball. It was poetry. It was Shakespeare with a crossover. It was a live-action TED Talk on regret. Lesson learned, if you try to rattle Caitlyn Clark, you better have a backup plan, like leaving the country. So yeah, maybe skip the pregame dance routine next time. Maybe swap the taunts for respectful silence. Or maybe just bring a white flag. Because when Caitlyn Clark steps on the court, she's not just playing, she's composing a highlight reel. And if you're lucky, you're not the one being posterized.